getting here. We're so excited that you made the effort to get out here. Maybe when somebody goes for a comfort break, you can steal a chair a little bit later. I didn't tell you that. I didn't say that. Right, so we're almost ready to go. Fantastic. Okay. Okay, first up, the owner, the magical, magnificent, the head honcho, the one who makes it happen around here. Please, we can make a little noise here tonight. Please put your hands together. Help me welcome Debbie DeProy from Scoot.
Deborah. Give yourselves now another round of applause, please, people, for being here tonight. Wow, Phillipa, what can I say to you tonight, my friend?
I'm terrified.
On behalf of Scoop's Theatre of Books, I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight. Please check into Scoop's. Get out your phones, check into Scoop's. It's the place to be tonight. The hottest bookshop in Johannesburg. Hands down, finished and klar. Not only because we're the hottest, it's because we love our authors. We have a lot of the authors in the house tonight. Thank you for all coming. Louis, Sarah, Ashley Janakaro, Kim Hunter. I just want to thank you guys for being here tonight. Kim, please like Tango with Tech's Facebook page. Kim is actually broadcasting this live to about 500,000 people. If you have any objections of being on video, speak now, forever hold your peace, amen, finished and klar. Just to reiterate on photographs, please take a photograph and post it on your Facebook page. Scoops has launched over 140 South African authors in the last 14 months. And of course tonight is the newest one. Actually, Phil and I met over a year ago. And Paula Gruben's launch. And Paula, thank you for being here tonight. We actually met at Paula Gruben's launch. And she said she had a book. And those of you that know me know that I'm a voracious reader. I read over 300 books a year. I gobble them up for breakfast, lunch and supper. And I can't get enough of them, and I'm always moaning at them. Sarah Key, authors, come on, bring these books. We create celebrity authors in Scoops, and that's been the greatest joy for me. Besides building inner city libraries, rural libraries in Soweto, the authors have come on board for this. Check out our events page. All our events are on there, and I invite you all to come along and join these events every night. It's just fantastic. It's just been absolutely fantastic to get them out into the shops. Australia is going to be launching her book on the 31st, right? 28th, beg your pardon. So please come in and support. And you guys obviously have got a book in your hand because you're not walking out here without a book. My security guards have been primed not to let you out the shop without a book in your hand, so I want a sold-out book launch tonight. I promised Phillipa that a year ago. When Phil bought me this book, when she told me about this book, it's so hard to write a book that is based on a true story. You know, when you are born, you're already starting to die. And that is just a fact. We talk about things like, I love you to death. We tell our children, I love you to death. We don't think about the words that we use. When you say, I remember my daughter getting her first hamster, and she took this little hamster and she loved it so much. Oh, mommy, I love Spooner so much, I love him to death. And the next minute she turned around and went, she burst out crying. I said, what's wrong, my child? The thing was dead. She hugged it to death. She loved it to death. And it traumatized her. She was about 6 years old. And we don't really think about that. We fear it. We fear death. Today is a very special day for Phillipa. She was loved to death. And it's in the book. And it really touched me that. I thought, wow, this woman has really gone deeply into the subject about love, about death. She's opened up her whole soul. And then along comes technology. I mean, I remember going on Facebook and thinking, wow, I don't want any of my old friends to find me, you know, so let me just see what this Facebook is all about first before I open up my soul. When I left school, I didn't want to know anybody, really. And then I've had one of those texts where people have said, wow, I've been wondering what you've done all these years. Where have you been? I had a crush on you at school. And you're thinking, oh my God, really? I thought you hated me. I mean, you didn't even look at me at school, you bullied me. But this is what happens. And it's opened up such a lot of things for everybody. And while she's writing this book, being loved to death, somebody finds her and loves her to death in another manner. And when I read it, I thought, wow, I couldn't put the book down. I thought to myself, 4 o'clock in the morning, what do we do at 4 o'clock in the morning? What do you do at 4 o'clock in the morning? You're all on Facebook, I know. Looking for your old loves. I see you all. It's become so accessible. And I thought she's opened up this whole personality of hers. And you gripped me, Phil, from the very first page to the very last page. And I want to thank you for bringing this book to Scoobs. As you all know, today is a very special day because this is the day that Phillipa lost her husband. And he is here tonight with us, Phil, you know that. And he's very proud of you for opening your little soul out, your beautiful soul, out to all of us. And it's been an honor for me to walk this journey with you for the last year. Phillipa has attended our indie authors meetings. She has shared her journey. She's not only an author, she's an editor and ghostwriter. Watch this space. It's coming. The big one is coming. That's all I'm saying about that. And it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you, to have you in my life, and to have you as a friend, because that's what you've been to me. So I'd like you to put your hand together for the newest author at Scoobs, Miss Phillipa Mitchell. I love you, darling. You worked very hard for this evening. Greg, thank you for being here tonight. Enjoy this evening, my fool. You deserve every single one of it. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a great evening.
A million magnet particles split in half, kept at a sufficiently long enough distance from each other, would be no more aware of each other's existence than if they did not exist at all. But a subtle shift of minute proportions could have these particles tumbling and falling towards one another, the earth shaking with the impact of their passage, the force between the particles growing stronger and stronger the closer they get to each other, until eventually they collide, like two souls becoming one. Imagine for a moment you take the courage to pack up everything that was for a moment successful to you. You buy a ticket and you decide to go on a life's journey that takes you to the far reaches of the earth. And one day, snuggled up in the backseat of a bus, you see your life and your purpose fall before you. And in a moment of passion and purpose, you begin. And she writes, I have to write this. I have to write this. And because of that courage, of putting one thing aside and starting another, one story creates space for another story to begin, and two souls meet. Friends and friends of Phillipa, will you please help me welcome the fairy gardener, Miss Donna McCullough.
So it's my absolute honor and privilege to be here, and to be here for you. Because, when was it? 2008, 2009. Phillipa was in a space saying, I've got dreams, I've got these dreams, and then we really worked together in 2012. And you said, I need to write a book. I need to write a book. And that was the start of it. Doing the Growing Wings program and saying I have to write a book. And so that's why I'm here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because I have been Phillipa's fairy godmother and been through this process with her. And so really just here to chat about your process and the book and to hear your words on it. So the first thing is, how does one start writing a book? Because I know that there are a number of people out there who are like, I've got a story, I want to do this, it's a dream. How did you start?
So when I first started the book, it wasn't actually a book, it was a series of diary entries between two people. And I had what I thought was the greatest love story in the world, and I was going to write it. But then I didn't know how to write it. I didn't know whether I had the right to write that story because there were so many people that were hurt in the process. So I kept this pile of papers in a shoebox at the back of my cupboard, and I left it there for a very long time. And then when I met Donna virtually at that stage, I thought, you know what, I am hurting so much. There's so much stuff that I've got that I'm carrying inside me that I need to vomit it out. I need to heal. And it's not only going to be the greatest love story ever told, it's going to be the greatest tragedy that's ever happened to me and the greatest love story that was ever told. So we were in this group together on the Growing Wings program, and I wrote the first couple of lines to my book and I posted it on the group, and everyone was like, yeah, go for it, write your book. And then I had to come up with a title, and yeah, everyone was just so supportive. So I sat with this book with all these journal entries and decided that I wasn't going to write it as a memoir, which I could have. There were just so many people that I don't think they wanted their names to be thrown all over the place through this book. So I thought, I'm going to write it as a novel. And so I changed my name. I changed the names of every character in the book. I must just say there's like a lot of pseudonyms sitting in the room here tonight that actually are in the book. Don't follow my eyes. And yeah, being able to write the book like that's been incredible because I was actually able to look at each character individually and write things from their perspective, and have almost less emotion but more drama. So I took each phase of my story and I turned it into a story, and I wrote about myself and about the people that I came into contact with and about the people that made up the story. And that's what I did for a year.
And so this is a dramatic story, and it's about dramatic events that happened in your life. It's about romantic events that happened in your life, but also dramatic events that happened in your life. So how was the writing process for you in terms of, was it a cathartic experience as you were writing? What type of emotions did you go through?
So I was actually not wanting to deal with all the emotions, and I didn't realize what was actually going to happen through writing the book, and it just, I relived everything. And it was like 50 Shades of fucked up. It was crazy, excuse the swearing. Because I was writing it in hindsight, and just when you're in something, you don't really see it for what it is, and when you step out of the story and see it for what it is, then everything changes. So, what was the question?
Was it cathartic?
Yes.
By the end of the process.
Yeah, it was hugely healing. It was the best thing I could have done. When I got to the end of the book, I was like, okay, I have nothing to hide. I've been carrying the secret for years, and you know, only the people very close to me knew what had actually happened. And you know, just to actually go, you know what, it's there. You know, whatever now. It's out of my system, and may it help somebody else that's going through something similar in their lives, because that's something I've also realized is I'm not the only one who's been through something like this. So yeah.
So I want to ask you a bit more about the process, and then I want to get into the book. And so you've written it all out, it's been this cathartic experience, and then it needs to go out in the world. How is that transition? Because there's a difference between writing a book and being by yourself, and then the book goes out.
So, yeah, I was a bit, I had a bit of an ego, I think, when I started writing the book. I thought, well, you know, like, I really want to get it out there, and I don't want to really do it, like, right at the end. So what I tried was something called serial publishing. And so serial publishing is like an online platform where you can post a chapter at a time of a book. So I wrote for a year of Sundays, and every Sunday I'd complete a chapter, and then I'd post a chapter up on the serial publishing platform, and I had this like really cool following, and you know, people were making comments, and I was actually able to change my book as I went along. You know, people picked up like even small things like grammatical errors, typos. People asked questions, and I thought, oh, okay, let me add that in. So by the time I finished writing the book and I posted my last chapter on the serial publishing platform, I actually was #1 that month, and then that was in June 2015, and then in July 2015 then it released on Amazon. So I'd actually already experienced the journey of publishing before I actually got there, and I was really glad that I did it that way, because I got some really awesome feedback.
Would you recommend it to other aspiring writers to do that?
Yeah, definitely, if you want to test the waters. You know, if you're an indie author, which for those who don't know what an indie author is, it means that you're not tied to any publisher, and you're self-publishing, then yeah, serial publishing is a great way to test the waters. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and there's lots of South African and international authors that do it. So yeah, why not? I mean, we have so much freedom as writers now compared to what we used to have years ago. Do it if you can, absolutely.
And then it went out on Amazon, and now it's hard, which was fabulous. I was so excited to get my copy a few weeks ago, because when it came out on Amazon, I was so excited, and I bought it immediately, and I read it, and I was like, ah. So the difference between Amazon and this, there's been an edit in between, yeah? Why? What?
I thought we cleared all these questions. Damn. I've got a fellow author over there. She understands the process. So, yeah, it was weird. I had this book on Kindle, and then I ordered like my first proof, my first physical proof, and I get this proof, and I start reading it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, really? Did I really need to say all of that? Was that really necessary? And oh shit, you know, like I spelled these things wrong, and it was such a mess. And I was like, and this was in January, and I thought, no, there is no way I'm putting this book out. It's weird, when you have a physical book, it's got more value than when it's digital. I can't describe it. And it's almost like when you read a digital book, you skip over stuff. Whereas with a book, you tend to read more in detail. So I was like, no, you know, if there's physical proof of this, then like it's got to be shit hot, you know? So yeah, I did a bit of an edit. I culled like I've never culled before, but it was absolutely fantastic to cull and to take out all the unnecessary stuff, because I think as authors, you know, we tend to write a lot of shit half the time, and that's why there's multiple edits. So I think my physical draft was actually my final edit, where I was actually able to take everything out that an editor would have taken out.
Well, I've loved it. I've loved the second read. You know, I loved the first read, just knowing your dream was coming true, and the second read, awesome. So I want to read, I know you're wanting to read, I want to read a little passage, because the big theme that comes out of this book for me is, it is a romance, and it is about love, but it's also about the fact that relationships are so messy. And I think as human beings, we all wish that relationships were very boxed and nice, or sometimes I do, you know, just really easy and boxed and nice, but relationships can be really, really messy. So I want to read you my favorite paragraph in the book. No, all good. So it says, letting in and letting go. The butterfly that is trapped between our hands will flutter instinctively as it struggles to break free. The heartbreak of abandonment, the trauma of abuse, the gut-wrenching torment and humiliation of betrayal. Each one holds the power to either crush us or ultimately free us. Alex and Christine's divorce was waiting in the wings, preparing to make its grand entrance onto the stage of their shattered lives. Alex was plagued with feelings of inadequacy and powerlessness, deeply ashamed that he had failed in a contract as sacred as marriage. And it's just so clear to me that so much of this book is not just about the love, it's about the feelings of betrayal, guilt, what if, oh my goodness, what if things could be different? And I just wanted you to speak into how you came to write such a messy relationship book, and romance book, you know? I mean, I know it's based on a true story, but it's so honest and it's so authentic, and that's what is so beautiful about this book for me, is that it gives us permission to be so messy in our relationships.
Wow. Sure. We never give ourselves permission when we're in a relationship to be messy. We go through relationships with friends, lovers, parents, children, and society dictates how we should behave in those relationships. And if we step outside of those norms and we're not in alignment with what society expects, then we get judged, and then we start judging ourselves. And that was one of the big reasons why I was very hesitant to write the book initially, because I was very worried about being judged, because as far as I was concerned, I'd committed the cardinal sin, and I thought, I don't really think I want to tell people about this, But what I started realizing is, and especially post writing the book and feedback that I've had from people who've read it, is, everyone is real and everyone is going through this kind of stuff. It's just people don't write the stuff down. Not everybody discloses what they've been through, honestly, and I'm okay with that. I don't have any secrets. I've got such amazing people in my life now because of writing the book than I had before, because I was honest enough just to say, I fucked up, and it's okay, I fixed it. I think I fixed it. I fixed a lot. There's a lot that I couldn't fix, and a lot that I still live with today. But it's the human condition. We continuously, it's ebb and flow, in and out. Letting in, letting go, like I wrote in the book.
And so there's love, and then there's also death and grief, and you experiencing grief, and children experiencing grief, and holding that space in your relationship with them. So speak to us of grief, and there's a lot of catharsis in the book around that.
The thing with death, especially today with social media and our connected world that we live in, I mean, death is ubiquitous. It's everywhere we look. There's somebody dying. There's somebody close to us. There's somebody that we just heard of, someone famous. And if it's someone that's not close to us, we kind of feel sad for a little bit, and we talk to people about it, and like, oh, did you hear? And then it happens to us. And, it's one thing when someone has been, let's say someone's got a terminal disease and you've had a bit of time to get used to the idea of that person going, and you've had time to let them, to say goodbye, and you've had time to say the things that you want to say. But traumatic, tragic death, where somebody just gets wiped out of your world within, like they're there and then they're not, that's a different kind of death to have to deal with. And that's, I think, Donna and I were talking about it the other day, and she's just lost a friend, and, she's also going through the whole grieving experience. And when she lost her dad, you said it's 10 years later, am I right? You said
9 months later.
9 months, okay, sorry. 9 months later, she started grieving. And, the same things happened to me, and, I still grieve. I grieve today. Today is the 10th anniversary of his death. And, it's just something. I don't think we ever stop grieving when we lose someone tragically. I don't think we ever stop grieving when we lose someone irrespective. But you know, where it seems like that person's gone too soon, it's hard. There's so much that's, you know, I end up just looking up and talking to the sky, you know, and just like, I hope you can hear me, because I didn't get to say all those things. I didn't get to change anything. You know, there's a lot of things that I wish I'd done differently that night, and I didn't, and you know, that just led to its own sequence of events. So you know, and for children, you know, both my children are here tonight, and you know, it's the first time that they've been in a public environment where I'm discussing our lives, their lives, so openly. So out of respect for them, I'm not going to go into detail here, but it's been a very difficult road for them, and you know, we're very close as a family. You know, I'm what, you know, I'm their mom. There's no dad anymore, and you know, we love each other dearly. We respect each other dearly. We look out for each other. But death it's very real for us. You know, it's very raw. I mean, you know, we don't talk about it all the time because death is just, it's not a nice thing to talk about. You know, and we try and look at the happy memories before talking about the sad, you know, the consequences of what happened that day. You know.
So you wanted to read some passages, and we want to hear you reading some passages.
Which ones do you want me to read?
Do you want me to hold the...
Yeah, I just want to...
Okay, so in this part of the book, Claudia, who's me in the book, she's writing a letter to, don't worry about that, she's writing a letter to her in-laws because there was a lot of blame after their son died. And so I just wanted to just read that little bit about what I went through. And you know, I don't know if there's anybody sitting here today who's a parent who's lost a child. I cannot imagine what that must be like to go through. And I was just thinking about that and how they must be dealing with it. So I said this. Claudia carefully folded the letter and placed it inside an envelope. She wrote their name and address on the front. She wondered how they would react when they received it. Would they tear it up into a million little pieces, or would they take the time to read it for what it was worth? She could only hope that it would be the latter. She so desperately wanted to receive their forgiveness. She yearned to be released from the shackles of guilt and blame that they had forced her to wear for all these years. The coldness gnawed at her ankles and cut into her skin. She could hear the scraping of the chain as she dragged it behind her. Claudia thought about Gareth with so much sadness. She knew that she would always carry a piece of him with her, and after all, he'd been a huge part of her life for 15 years, and it would be impossible for her to simply erase him from her timeline. She thought back fondly to the times that they had laughed together and cried together. She thought about the mountains they had climbed together and the children they had raised together. Just as quickly as Gareth had entered her life, he disappeared from it, literally falling out of the visible world and vanishing. There had been no time for goodbyes. There had been no time for apologies. All that was left behind was an empty chair at an empty table, a lifetime of memories that could no longer be matched to a living, breathing soul. She thought about the emotions, the anger, the fear, and the hopelessness, everything that Gareth had endured in the hours before his untimely death, and then her role in it. She thought about Gareth's family and their shattered lives, and she prayed that they would find peace one day. But does one ever find peace when a child is wrenched from your life? Perhaps, like a vehicle on autopilot, one simply carries on.
So, how beautiful in the book, asking for forgiveness, because also in relationship, it's not just about the relationship that you have with somebody else, it's also about, and certainly in marriage, society's expectations of you, your family's expectations of you, and certainly through this process in a relationship and then in death and splitting out of that relationship, you had a lot of that pressure.
Yeah, I did, and I mean, right up until today, you know, I felt very responsible for what happened, and I knew there was nothing I could do to change what happened. I asked for forgiveness. I never received it, but at least I felt that I asked for their forgiveness in the book, and if they ever read it one day, then hopefully that I might be forgiven. I think, but losing a child is just, it's something that no one deserves to ever go through. And I can almost understand that it must be difficult to forgive somebody who played a role in their child's death, even though it wasn't, it wasn't, yeah. Ish.
Responses to the book. So you've written it, you put it out there, and now people are responding, and your friends are reading it, and people that you don't know are reading it. And how has some of that been?
Yeah, the responses to the book, that's what really threw me. I wasn't expecting the response I got, and particularly from the male audience. That really blew me away. I mean, I've had a lot of feedback from females, but from men who, I don't know, is it a thing about men in society that they're not allowed to show how they feel, or, that they also men go through exactly what we go through as women. It's just that they're not able to express it as openly, although I do know men that are able to do that. So I'd say like probably 70% of my feedback that I've received has been from men. And that's huge for me. A lot of people that have found healing through the book, a lot of people that have gone, wow, but I've gone through, I can feel how you're feeling when you're writing that. That's exactly what I went through, and I didn't think that was normal to feel like that, but it's normal, and I can move on now. So yeah, loads of that, and that's just been really amazing, because when I wrote the book, I just wrote it to tell a story. I didn't realize that it was going to help other people heal, and I think that's how, as humanity, we're so connected, because if we just talk about stuff that we've gone through, then it gives other people the permission to acknowledge their own stories and share their own stories. Yeah.
The healing and the catharsis of the book is testament to you and your authenticity and being so open and so raw. And for me, it's clear that many men have responded to it, because in the character of Alex in the book, it's so rounded, and it's such a rounded character. And also in the interaction that you have through Claudia's emails with Alex, a lot of emotional discussion is taking place. So it gives permission to people, women and men, to have that. Do you want to read some of that to us? Or read. Well, I know you wanted to read some.
That part. Hang on. Have a coffee break.
Well, read us what you want. Read us the next bit you wanted to read us.
Wow. Yeah, it's difficult for me to read the conversations. I'm quite happy for them to stay in the book, and not to have to actually read them.
Perfect. Read us the...
Okay. So something that happened to me, happened to Claudia in the book when Gareth passed away, is she had to go to the funeral home, and she had to plan a funeral, which a day before she didn't think that was even going to happen, and it was her emotions as she drove away and how she felt. I've had a lot of people come back to me about this particular part of the book and just say, that's exactly how it is. We look at other people and we don't realize what they're going through. So I said, Claudia got into her car and drove up the street. She waited momentarily at a traffic light, watching other people drive past, some looking ahead, focused on the road, others laughing and chatting to each other in the car, some swerving around each other. It's amazing, she thought, how life just carries on. Everyone in some way is fighting their own battle, dealing with their own lives, and in that moment, people would have looked at her and been completely unaware of what her and her family were going through. Claudia wanted to get out of her car and put her hands in the air and scream out in pain, "Look at me, this is not a normal day for me. My husband has just died and you're driving around as if nothing has happened." She wondered how many other people were driving around in a similar zombie-like state, as if their lives too had been frozen in time and they were waiting for somebody to hit the play button again.
Phew. Yeah. When you lose someone, you know that. There's like a numbness and a shockness, and you want the whole world to stop. You don't want the world to carry on. No. Yeah. No, I know that space. So you've written your first book, and it's out there, and all the responses are coming in, and it's selling beautifully. And what now? This sparks a whole more journey for you, right? So tell us about the more.
So I don't know if I'll ever write another book of my own again. I felt that this was my story, and maybe I will. Maybe something will happen that I feel I can write again. But what started happening after I put my book out there is people started coming to me and saying, I can't write, but can you write my story for me? I also have had something happen in my life, and where's Tatu? I don't know where she's standing, but I'm busy writing her book now at the moment, and oh, there she is, my hero. Yeah, I mean, she's been through hell, and you know, when she was 15 years old, she was hit by a taxi, and she was dragged 50 meters, and her body is disfigured because of it. And I mean, she was in a coma for 21 days, and you know, she was 15 years old. I mean, she was at the beginning of her life, and it's such an honor for me now, after being through my own tragedy. I understand what it feels like to have something happen to you that you just don't even have on the cards. You know, you're born one day and you think, oh no, I'm gonna, you know, like grow up a little girl and I'm gonna, like, whatever, you know, ride off into the sunset with my prince and, you know, have a castle. And, you know, we don't know what lies ahead in our lives. And those are the stories that I want to tell. So I've now become a ghostwriter, and it's for people who don't have time to write, or people who you know, just maybe aren't able to write. But I've got a way. I know I can take their story and turn it into something that other people want to read. But it's such a blessing to be able to do something like this, and I'm truly honoured to have been gifted with my story so that I can help other people tell theirs.
It's beautiful. And how is that? I mean, it's just your dream coming true, and then helping other people do the same. So lovely. And how is that process of working with people? You know, because I've got, you know, my story to tell, but you know, how do you actually go through that?
For me, it's a wonderful process, because, you know, when people share something that they've been through in their lives, you know, they just speak from the heart, and it just flows. And I just record everything they say, and I just ask a lot of questions, and you know, they say stuff that maybe they haven't said before. And, you know, once I've spent a couple of days with them, then I take whatever I've recorded and I thread that together, and I write it as a book. And it's such a beautiful process. You know, like people who are actors and singers, and, you know, or anybody who's got a craft, you know, it comes easily and it flows. And when you're doing something that comes easily to you, then that's when you know you're doing the right thing. So, you know, for some people, I think ghostwriting might be scary and they can't do it. But for me, it's a natural progression from what I'm doing, and I absolutely love it. And hope to make a huge career out of it, and live in Italy and you know, write books.
Questions and answers. Are we going to take those? Yeah, questions and answers from the audience. Yeah. Okay, lovely lady at the back. Shall we?
No, just repeat the question.
Loud. Yep.
Phillipa, the comments that you've had on your book have no doubt been positive. Have you had any negative feedback where people who have stated you in the story? I mean, obviously they put two and two together. But have you had any negative feedback, and how have you dealt with that?
You know, up until like this weekend, I hadn't had any negative feedback, and I got a call actually on Saturday, which really shocked me to the core, from one of the family members who was, you know, she didn't want this launch to go ahead, because she knew that things could be tied up, and it really shocked me because I hadn't anticipated that. And I think that's where, as writers, we've got to be really careful. Fortunately, I didn't use anybody's names, so everyone's a pseudonym, so it's okay. But yeah, I've got to be more aware of and I think for anyone who's writing a story, you know, if you're going to be referring to other people, just know that there's possibly going to be an impact. So yeah, it was very hectic, and I haven't told a lot of people that this happened, but yeah, I mean, I went ice cold and I was shaking, and I was just like, I don't know what to do now. I don't know how to fix this. But yeah, I'm still in the early throes of it, so I think it'll iron itself out as I go. Yeah, it was just a warning.
But authentically, this was the expression for you. And authentically in this book, you have written about your connection to the family and asking for forgiveness from the family, etc. So, I mean, that is hugely brave to do that. Yeah. Any more questions?
So kind.
Yeah.
Phillipa, you said earlier on you published on the serial publishing site the first few lines. How different were those lines to the ones you now?
Oh, cool. That's a really nice question. So I'm actually going to read the first few lines because they are the only lines that stayed the same. And these are the lines when I was doing Donna's Growing Wings program. That you know, I decided on our little group where we were all sort of posting our successes and everything. I said, okay, so I've decided I'm going to write this book, and like I've written the first few lines. So these are the lines that have stayed exactly the same, and it starts like this. She woke from her sleep with her heart pounding in her chest and her eyes darting wildly around the room. She could still hear his voice in her head. I'll never take you back, he hissed down the phone. I'll never take you back. A click, and then silence. This was the last time they would speak. So yeah, so that's what I wrote. That was my first few lines, and then it had to grow from there.
Anyone else?
So perhaps a hard one. The process you went through, because obviously it's a very personal experience. And as you said, it impacted a large amount of people. Maybe the process you went through, you know, what was it a consultation with the family? Was it, did you go through that whole process before you decided, I'm going to do this, I'm going to write the book?
I didn't. I just decided to write. And no, I didn't ask permission. You know, there were people that were reading the book on the serial publishing platform, so they could see what I was writing about. But I was never challenged. I was never challenged once while I was writing this book. So thank goodness. I got challenged afterwards. Yeah. So I think, you know, if I'd written it as a memoir, then I definitely would have had to have done some consultation because, you know, there were things that were said there that if it was written from me in the first person, it would have been very different. And legally, I would have needed to have had their permission, but fortunately, I didn't have to.
Yes.
I don't know what your beliefs are, but I want to know if there has been a change in your beliefs from before all of this happened in your life, and then through the events, through the writing, and up until today.
So can I just repeat the question just so that everyone can hear it? So the question was, has there been a change in your beliefs from before this event happened right through the writing of it and up until now?
So, you know, when you say beliefs, I'm presuming you're meaning from a spiritual side. No, I haven't changed my spiritual beliefs at all. I think if anything, I've just become more connected and, yeah, I've grown. I mean, you know, I haven't, like, regressed. You can say I know that I'm 100% true to myself at all times. I like to believe I'm an authentic person, and I think the biggest thing that this journey of writing this book and going through this experience has been for me is empathy, learning empathy, and just, you know, I put myself in other people's shoes first now, much more than I used to. It's not always a good thing. We have to be selfish and we have to respect what we want. But, you know, my spiritual beliefs have grown, but, yeah, the empathetic side of me has grown because, you know, the book focuses a lot on betrayal and, you know, I was the I was the betrayer, and then I became the betrayed at the end of the book, and it was quite hectic for me when that happened, and I sort of only looked at it in retrospect, but I was so much more empathetic to what Gareth in the book had been through after I went through it myself, because I went, wow, okay, that's what this kind of stuff does to a person, because, you know, betrayal is such a huge thing. You know, we all want to be validated as human beings, right? And when we betrayed, it's like somebody's just going, well, you know, you're not good enough. And it's how we respond to that when that happens to us, that, you know, we either come from a place of darkness or a place of light. I found that I was eventually in a place of light because of it, where I could look at the situation from the outside and go, wow, I understand now. You know, now that I've been through it, it's very difficult for us to understand anything in life until we've actually experienced it ourselves. And people like to go, oh yeah, you know, you should be feeling like this, you should be feeling like that, but, you know, talk to me when you've gone through it, then we'll talk again. Thanks, great question.
Yeah, at the back.
So Phillipa, I think writing this book is phenomenal, but your life and your journey hasn't finished at the end of your book. And we tonight in Scoops, and one of the things I've heard you say often about Scoops, and what I'm also hearing you say more and more, is that there's space for the indie authors in South Africa. And what are you seeing happening in the next year to 18 months to 2 years for indie authors like yourself and other indie authors in South Africa?
So the question is, what are you seeing happening in the next 18 months to 2 years for indie authors in South Africa? That's a tongue twister, indie authors in South Africa.
I'm not going to repeat that. I'll say it slowly. Indie authors in South Africa. In South Africa and worldwide, I mean, there's such a growing trend towards, you know, it's okay to be an indie author. You don't need to be published with a publisher to be an author. So the beautiful thing about Scoops and Deborah is, and I don't know where she's disappeared to, but you know, I really want to honor her tonight, because, you know, you go to, let's say, one of the bigger book chains. I'm not going to mention names or, you know, letters or, you know, but you know those people, right? It's like an M on the side, you know. You know, to get your book in with them, there's really strict requirements. You know, you have to have your own distributors, and, you know, the authors themselves actually end up, you know, if you are writing to make a living, it can become prohibitive. And then you get Debs, who will take books in from, you know, anyone that she feels has written something of value, and she will market the shit out of it. I mean, I can't believe what she's done with my book. So I think with platforms like this, I know that there are other bookshops that are doing exactly the same thing in South Africa. The smaller independent bookstores. But I think that if anybody's got a story inside them, you know, you don't need to wait 2 years for your manuscript to be accepted by a publisher anymore. You know, you can do it yourself, and there's bookshops like Scoops that will make sure that you know, you get the exposure that you need. I mean, my book is a product of you know, the reason why I published my book in paperback was because of Deborah, because I realized there was place for it. Otherwise I would have just stayed online. So yeah, I've definitely got her to thank for that.
So I wanted to ask you, at times when you were writing your book, did you ever get to a point where you thought, do I carry on? How do I carry on? And when you get to, whether it was writer's block or perhaps an emotional block to continue, what propelled you forward, and where did you draw your strength from to keep going?
Okay. I'm going to repeat the question, but I see a number of people nodding to your question as you're asking it, and I'm nodding to your question as well. So the question was, when you come to writer's block or emotional block or some kind of block in the process of writing, how do you actually get through it?
Well, like I said before, I needed to vomit the story out of me, so I didn't really have writer's block as such, but there were times when I was writing the book where I had emotions that I was dealing with, but there was no particular part of the story that could accurately reflect that. So fortunately, writing the book as a work of fiction, I was able to sort of not really make some stuff up, but I mean, I was actually able to, because I had that block, because I didn't know how to express myself, I thought, okay, well, let me write a chapter based on something that I was terrified of. You know, there's one chapter in my book where my boys are going off on a school camp, and I had this morbid fear of, after having lost Gareth in the book, that I was just going to have people taken away from me left, right and centre. And they were, you know, so I was always worried about them, but I didn't have a specific moment that I could actually write about, you know, that really happened. So I wrote this chapter in the book about the boys getting on a bus and going off on a camp, and how eventually I raced after the bus and went with them to the camp, you know, and I mean, I drove away when I knew they were safe. So I think that's the nice thing about being able to take something that's actually happened to you and turn it into a story, because you know, you can make up the scenes, but the message is still there, because even though it never actually happened, I was going through this every single day with this fear of something happening to one of the people that were close to me.
Other questions? Yes, again.
Phillipa, with you ghostwriting now for other people, are you able to separate your emotions from their story when you write it, or do you find that you're getting totally involved in the story that your writer's trying to portray?
So the question is, with Philippa's ghostwriting, is she finding that her emotions are getting caught up in their emotional stories, or is she able to be objective, I suppose?
Yeah, to an extent I have to be objective, but it's normally later in the writing process. When I'm interviewing clients, I get very caught up in their story, and I have to be, because when I write the story, I want to feel it as if it was something that I was going through personally. So yes, I do get wrapped up. I mean, it's not like I'm a psychologist or someone that needs to maintain that distance. For me, it's actually quite important to get really into the lives of the person that I'm writing for, because I can't write with their voice otherwise. I need to feel what they're going through, and I need to, again, it's the empathy, you know, like how would it feel if I went through that? And that helps me to be able to write authentically. Great question, thanks.
I have a question. How do you decide whose stories you take on and whose you don't? I mean, are there some people you're just like, I can't help?
Yeah, I've started noticing it now more than ever. You know, there's some stories that I go, oh yeah, okay, that'll be cool to write, but then there's a really hectic story and someone who's really been to hell and back. And like, I like writing those to hell and back stories, because I feel like I've been to hell and back to some extent, and I can just relate, and it's easy for me to write those stories. So when someone comes to me with a story that, you know, where they've really been through something that not many people go through and that's changed their lives, I want to write that stuff for them. I want to help them get that story out into the world, because I know how much my book changed lives, and will continue to change lives, and I want them to be able to do exactly the same thing. So yeah.
There's a question.
I want to find out, do you finish one book if you go writing before you go on to the next? So you can't kind of...
So the question is, do you finish one book as a ghostwriter before you go on to the next, or are you writing multiple books?
No, you know, I may be a woman, but I'm a lousy multitasker, so... Yeah, so when I take on a book, then it's got my undivided attention, and I focus solely on that. I won't write anybody else's work while I'm focusing on a particular story. I also don't want stuff to get skewed, and yeah, it's a very emotional process writing a book, so, you know, like I want to have all my emotion in that book with that theme only, and not be focused on another story. So yeah, so it does take a long time to go between one client and the next, but yeah, I'm more comfortable with that. I don't know how other ghostwriters do it, if they can write more than one book at a time, but I definitely can't.
Yes.
So I'm pretty darn sure that there's someone in the room who has a book in there, but is hesitating, and is unsure, uncertain, and just can't get the courage to take that next step and start with the process. What one nugget can you share to that person sitting here tonight?
If you know you have a story in you, then you have no excuse. There are plenty of tools available out there to get your story out there. I mean, it took me 10 years to do it. I mean, really. It doesn't need to take that long. Can I quote you, Sonia? So Sonia, we work together. This is going to sound disgusting, but she's from Uruguay, and she doesn't pronounce she pronounces her B's as B's. So we were joking about it in the office one day, and I said, sorry, Neil. So I said, so what do you call, like, the female body part, you know? So we've got this running joke in the office about vaginas, okay? So what I want to say to everybody is, you know, if you've got a book in you, then grow a vagina and write your story.
I think we've got to end it there. How do you top that? You don't. Thank you. Thank you for writing this book. Thank you for having the courage to really live your dreams. And thank you, through living your dreams, for inspiring so many people to live theirs. So my big dream as a fairy godmother has always been to touch, move, and inspire 1 million people so that they live their dreams and achieve their goals, and so that they are each inspiring 1,000 people to do the same. And I'm so delighted and honored to have you as one of my 1 in 1 million. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. That's just really beautiful, and she's such a huge part of having this book here today. So I haven't thanked everybody, so I just want to make a few mentions. I've got my notes so that I remember everybody. So tonight I want to thank my children, Brandon and Justin, who are sitting over here tonight, who've been through this whole journey with me. I just want to thank the two of you for giving me the space and permission to write this story, which is such a huge part of your lives, and that you've done it never once with judgment. And I really appreciate that. And then to the pseudonyms, you know, all the people in the story who are sitting here tonight, you know who you are. Shirley, Chris, Kerry, Edith, they're all here. I'm just mentioning the ones that are here. To Donna again, I've got it in my notes for inspiring me to write this book. And then I'm part of a tribe. We meet up once a month. My tribe is also, you know, when I was writing this book, you know, they were all reading it with me every month on the Serial platform. So to Neil, to Robin, to Tamar, to Jen, and to Kerry again. To my jacket designer, designers I should say, to Anastasia. I'm not sure if she's here tonight. I didn't see her come in. I know she said she was possibly coming. So thank you. And then to Greg for, you know, for saying, hey, I'm going to give this a revamp. You need a better back jacket. And he designed my back jacket for me. And then he went and designed the large print edition of my book for, you know, the people that need to read in a size 16 font. It's really, really cool jacket. And he did all my marketing collateral as well, which I'm deeply grateful for. The bookmarks that you have here tonight are all his work. And then to my proofreaders and my grammar Nazis, you know, we all need them while we're writing a book. And they're all sitting here tonight. So Lydia in the back, Chris, who are you? I don't know where she's sitting. and Sonia. And if you ever need a proofreader, I promise you, when I gave, and now Sonia's the vagina chick, when I gave Sonia a copy of my book, one of the printed copies, she came back to me after the weekend and she said, there's a few mistakes in your book. And I was like, no man, I've like picked up everything. And what I realized is get someone who doesn't speak English as their first language to read your book, because they will see those mistakes. I mean, it was crazy what she noticed. I was so embarrassed. And I work with her, and I'm always ripping her off about the way she speaks and her errors, and she was like, well, I've got no excuse now. to Deborah, wherever you are, thank you for holding this. There you are. I can even see you with my bad eyes. Thank you for hosting this amazing event for me, for giving me the space to share my book with everybody. I'm so grateful to you. You've been such an integral part of my journey, and I don't think I'll ever stop thanking you. Yeah, and we are watching the space for the big one. And everybody at Scoobs as well. And then to everybody here, my readers and my readers-to-be, and you know, everybody that supported me on my journey. Guys, like seriously, to sit here and wow, I mean, you know, I just want to look at everybody and just, wow, this is huge. I mean, I never thought that I'd be sitting here in a place like this with all these people that I love and care about and who shared my journey with me. So, yeah, just huge thanks to each and every single one of you. I mean, it's amazing how many people came tonight. Thank you. And to the universe for guiding me here tonight. Huge thanks to my angels, my everything. And the last thanks is, and he's not here tonight, but I just want to thank Grant. You know, this book started with him, and tonight is in his honor. You know, I don't think when we met each other, you know, back in the day, before we had our children, that I ever thought I'd be sitting here talking about something that he had such a big role to play in. So, you know, just thank you for giving me the story, Grant. I'm sure you're here, and yeah, I love you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight.
The sun was setting, and her office was getting dark. She thought about serving dinner, but she felt sick to the stomach. She looked up as Kyle walked through the office. "Mommy," he said, "there's a man at the gate, and it looks like one of those cars that the people at the hospitals drive, with red flashing lights. Should I let him in?" And my second most favorite passage of the book is this. "Yet when the sun's golden fingers reached through the gaps in the curtains and played with the curls of her hair that fell across her face, Claudia awoke, not with the gripping sense of fear in her heart, but rather a sense of peace. Peace at having opened her soul up to another human being, someone who loved her. Someone who loved her unconditionally and got who she is. Thank you for coming out tonight and getting this chick." Please, one more time, put your hands together for Phillipa Mitchell.
Oh, you know, the things that you forget to say when you're thanking people. Robin, thank you for just showing up tonight and being the MC. And somebody that I also forgot to thank was Justin, who played the piano earlier. He's been teaching himself how to play piano on YouTube. And so we struck a deal tonight so that, you know, he was going to play piano in exchange for a concert ticket. So I think he did damn well.
Before she speaks, post your photos, #4inthemorning. Please check into Scoobs. Please make sure that you hunt her down, give her a hug, say thank you, well done, and take another selfie with her and post that on Facebook, #4inthemorning. And please share and like. Just share the love. Do us all a favor. This girl deserves it.